Good evening, I'm David Brown and welcome to the Northern Sun Experience. The regular season in softball wrapped up this past weekend with the conference tournament set to start Thursday in Sioux Falls. But some key players came up clutch down the stretch for their respective teams. The NSIC Pitcher of the Week is Winona State's McKenna Larson. In a weekly award that's been dominated by Minnesota State's Coley Reese, Larson put up a very Reese-like week for the Warriors. She went 3-0 with 3 shutouts, including a no-hitter against Northern State. Opponents hit just .091 against Larson, who is Pitcher of the Week for the second time this season. The Conference Player of the Week is Augustana's Christina Pickett. The freshman led the Vikings last week with a .667 batting average, compiling 8 hits, including 2 doubles and 2 home runs. She also scored 5 runs and drove in 7. Augustana took on Minnesota Duluth in the final series of the regular season, down 1-0 in the first, but Shannon Peterson goes deep to right for a 2-run shot. Vikings take a 2-1 lead, but the home run parade would continue for UMD in the second. First, it's Hannah Block with a solo shot to left. Next batter is Lauren Overly. Bulldogs go back-to-back to take a 3-2 lead. The score is now 5-3 Minnesota Duluth in the fourth, when the Player of the Week, Christina Pickett, laces a double to center. RBI cuts the Bulldog lead to 5-4, but it would not be enough. UMD tops Augustana 8-6 in Game 2 of the doubleheader. The Vikings did win Game 1, however, to salvage a split. The top team in the league, Minnesota State, traveled to U-Mary last weekend. Mavs take advantage of a marauder miscue in the first. Jess Meidel scores on the wild pitch, and it's 1-0 MSU. Later in the first, Amber Crawl with a short pop to right that falls in for a single. Ashley Thel scores 2-0 Mavericks, and that's all they would need. MSU tops U-Mary 7-1 and finishes the season winning 20 consecutive games. Here's a look at the double elimination conference softball tournament in Sioux Falls. These games were scheduled to start earlier on Thursday. The 7-seed Sioux Falls versus the 10-seed Northern State, while the 8-9 matchup is Southwest Minnesota State and Minot State. The winner of that game more than likely takes on the top seed from Minnesota State. The 4-5 contest pits Minnesota Duluth against St. Cloud State. The second seed is Winona State, who will likely face the 7-10 matchup victor. The third seed is Augustana, taking on the 6th seed Bemidji State. The conference tournament championship will take place on Saturday. Midco Sports Network will rebroadcast the championship, whether it's 1 game or 2 games, on Tuesday, May 16th. When we come back, we stay on the diamond but switch to baseball, where one Minnesota-Crookston pitcher's arm has given him a whole new perspective on honing his craft.
The Northern Sun Experience on Midco Sports Network is presented by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and Dakota Land Honda.
Welcome back to the Northern Sun Experience. In his first year on the roster, Parker Hanson has emerged as one of the top pitchers at the University of Minnesota-Crookston. If you look at the stats or the box score, his numbers are solid but don't really jump out. In order to understand how Hanson operates, you need to see him in person. Midco Sports Network's Jody Norstead explains how the eye test gives you a deeper appreciation for how Hanson's honed his craft.
Parker Hanson throws some serious heat. His determination is what you look for in a pitcher.
There's nothing that can really stop me from doing what I want to do.
I didn't expect him to be this good. I mean, throwing 90, 91, and one of the best pitchers in the conference, let alone on our team.
Take one listen to these next few words, and you understand that he's also armed with confidence.
I look at my arm as an ability to inspire.
Words that almost sound arrogant until you realize he's not talking about his throwing arm. Parker's first pitch was a curveball to his mother Barb on the day he entered this world.
We knew nothing about it before he was born. Off in the room, I heard somebody say, just so you're not surprised, your son was born without his left hand. You know, maybe some parents would be emotional about it. I was like, it's just a left hand. He's got a brain, he's gonna be fine.
Like usual, Mom was right. Parker grew up in his hometown of Hawley, Minnesota, just like any other active little boy. And this circle of grass, still imprinted in his backyard, displays the roots of his first passion.
Age of 2 or 3 is when I first got out there with a bat, and I think 3 or 4 is when I first got the glove on and started throwing. I was playing t-ball at 4.
Everybody was, always move up. Oh, here comes the boy with one hand, and out it would go. And from the time he was like 3 years old even. He'd get up in the morning, put his baseball pants on.
As a child, Parker never thought of being born without a hand as a problem. It was all he knew. It wasn't until he began going to school that his eyes were open to the potential obstacles that lie ahead.
I probably noticed for the first time in like first grade, or first or third grade, there was like a lyceum we had in the elementary, and there's a guy there that was paralyzed from the waist down from a bicycle accident, I believe. And he was like shooting bow and arrows and stuff, like, and that's the first time I heard the term handicap, like, explained as like limbs and stuff. So I came home from school one day and I just told my mom, I'm like,
He goes, Mom, did you know I was handicapped? You know, I mean, just like totally innocent. Did you know this, Mom? And I looked at him and I said, Parker, I said, there are people born with everything. Perfect bodies, perfect everything, are more handicapped than you because they don't try.
The challenge was finding something or someone that Parker could relate to, that he could look to as an inspiration. Enter former Major League pitcher Jim Abbott, one of the most captivating stories in baseball history. Despite being born without a right hand, Abbott pitched 10 years in the bigs, highlighted by a no-hitter with the Yankees in 1993.
I did my History Day project on him in 6th grade, so I learned a lot about him then. As I've gotten older, I've watched more highlights of him, just seeing his mechanics and what he does with one hand, and that's been a big help trying to just improve my game. I've talked to him over Twitter. I've direct messaged him on that, telling me never to give up on my dreams.
Parker was determined to make sure his dreams became a reality. His baseball career took off in his high school days at Holly, and the attention surrounding him grew from casual fans to college coaches, including Minnesota-Crookston head coach Steve Gust.
As I kept watching him, he got better and better and better, and I'm thinking this kid has the tools to be a real good pitcher, and then with the, you know, with everything that he's had to go through, you know, you knew he was a good character kid, a good tough kid.
After spending his first year out of high school at a junior college near the Twin Cities, that tough kid now calls the Minnesota-Crookston campus home, and he's already proving to his teammates that his disability doesn't define him.
I mean, I knew that he would help out, and I didn't expect him to be this dominant because, I mean, every one of his starts, he's been just flat out dominant. Even if he's not had his best stuff, teams struggle with him.
Almost every game so far this year, someone's tried to get a bunt on me, and they're not successful yet.
He tucks his glove under his left arm, slides it on his right arm as soon as he pitches. He feels his position pretty well for only having one hand.
The way that he's thrived on the baseball field makes Parker's accomplishments truly remarkable. But as Parker knows firsthand, what good is his story if it doesn't help inspire? So he's preparing to follow in the footsteps of his role models, working on a minor in communications with hopes of someday being a motivational speaker.
I know there's times in life when you're dealing with one hand where you're low in confidence and you don't think you can do what other kids do. So if I can step in and help those kids think that they have what it takes and they can no matter what, then that's something I'll always try to do.
He already has his catchphrase, which might make a little more sense when you hear it this time.
I don't look at my arm as a disability, I look at my arm as an ability to inspire.
Words that aren't merely a quote, but an accurate description of Parker's life.
Honestly, I think if I would have had two hands, I don't know where I would have been. I don't know if I would be here in this situation. I don't know if I'd be in college sports even. But with one hand, it's motivated me to just prove everyone that doesn't believe me wrong.
Hanson's major is in business management, and he hopes to open his own gym someday. And as he saw, he hopes to inspire others as a motivational speaker. In fact, he's already spoken to some players in Florida and Minnesota trying to overcome similar obstacles. Well, when we come back, would Augustana's presumed starting quarterback for next season call an audible? Those details are next. Welcome back to the Northern Sun Experience. With 1 week to go until the conference baseball tournament in St. Cloud, Minnesota State has already locked up the #1 seed, and they were led last weekend by the conference's pitcher of the week. Maverick junior Dalton Roach earned the conference honor for his performance. Roach dominated Upper Iowa on Friday, pitching a 7-inning, 1-hit shutout against the Peacocks. Roach matched a season high with 14 strikeouts and leads the NSIC overall in strikeouts with 101. The NSIC Player of the Week is Northern State's Jack Schmidt. The junior hit .579 last week as the Wolves went 5-1. Schmidt went 11 for 19 with 4 home runs, 12 RBI, and 8 runs scored. Well, as spring football season wound down, it was a choice between 2 unbelievable experiences for Augustana fifth-year quarterback Chase Marzo. Become the starter of the Vikings for the 2017 football season after 3 years as a backup, or attend Harvard Medical School. Marzo wanted the opportunity to do both, but Harvard denied a deferred enrollment for 2018. So Marzo was forced to choose between the two, and he's decided to head east. As one of only 235 accepted applicants to Harvard Medical School this year, it was too good to pass up. In a statement, Marzo said, quote, "I will undoubtedly miss the opportunity to compete alongside my teammates next fall, but I'm excited for this new opportunity and challenge in my life, and will always be a Viking at heart." Well, from dreams off the field to on the field, no NSIC players were drafted this past weekend into the NFL, but as of this week, several got invitations to minicamps in early May. Former Sioux Falls quarterback Luke Papillion will attend Detroit Lions minicamp as a tight end. Former Minnesota Duluth quarterback Drew Bauer will attend Green Bay Packers and New Orleans Saints minicamp. Former Winona State quarterback Jack Nelson will attend both Minnesota Vikings and Indianapolis Colts minicamp. And Bemidji State running back Genna Adams also gets an invitation to Vikings minicamp. Well, when we come back, our Under the Northern Sun alumni feature showcases Concordia University, St. Paul. Welcome back to the Northern Sun Experience, where it's time to name 2 more members to the NSIC's 25th anniversary team. Congrats to former Southwest Minnesota State golfer Laura Lundbohm-Holsebus. You may remember her from last week's Under the Northern Sun alumni feature. She currently runs her own chiropractic center in St. Peter, Minnesota. But during her playing days, she was a 3-time Conference Player of the Year, a 4-time All-Conference golfer, and a 3-time individual medalist at the NSIC tournament. And congrats are also in order for former Concordia St. Paul softball star Kristen Schmidt. Instrumental in leading the Golden Bears to some of their first postseason performances, Schmidt was the 2003 NSIC Rookie of the Year, a 2-time Conference Pitcher of the Year, a 2-time All-American, and a 3-time All-Region Tournament team member. Schmidt was also the 2005 NCAA All-Tournament Most Valuable Pitcher. And speaking of Concordia St. Paul, tonight's Under the Northern Sun alumni feature showcases a former Golden Bear volleyball star who's now making a difference in the world of healthcare.
My name is Mary Slinger-Heiken. I played volleyball at Concordia University St. Paul. I am now a pharmacist at Essentia Health St. Mary's Medical Center in Duluth, Minnesota. I graduated in 2010 with a chemistry degree and a minor in Spanish. My experience as a student athlete at Concordia was unforgettable. Being a part of the volleyball program and what it's become is simply unbelievable. The program has made such great strides with volleyball in general and within our conference. Brady and George expected so much out of us on every day in practice and in games. And they not only expected us to compete, but they wanted us to fight hard and to win. So the first national championship in 2007 seems a little carefree. It was a little unexpected, I think. The second national championship, the first time we hosted at home in 2008, that was a little intense. From what I remember, it seemed like it was a rivalry match, but at home. And I get chills to the day, still thinking about the 2 blocks from our seniors, Maria Steinhagen and Whitney Murado, when we were down 11-13 to bring us back and then to eventually win the 5th set.
We'll try Kessler again. And Concordia has repeated as national champions on their home court.
We're waiting for the text to just see if it's possible that we could possibly host for a 2nd year straight. And so when we found out that we were, it was just like, this is gonna happen again. Like, it just felt so great. To be undefeated, your last match of your career is on your home court. It's pretty surreal. Volleyball really taught me to be adaptable, and it's kind of cliche, but sports teach you about the journey. Every season is filled with different variables and challenges and successes, but the next day you're expected to show up to practice regardless of how the match went the night before. I knew I wanted to major in chemistry because of a certain push from a specific analytical chemistry professor, Dr. Carol Stellwagen. She had an idea about me designing my own chemistry major, because at the time Concordia hadn't had one. She had the idea and I had the enthusiasm, and so we got me into the chemistry classes that were available at Concordia, all of them, and I also went to an outside college to supplement the degree to make it a little bit more robust. And so with a certain push from her, I self-designed my own chemistry major. As I worked through a few jobs postgraduate and having a few conversations with current professionals and kind of connections, I put together that I think pharmacy would be a good career for me. I think of pharmacy as a great blend of patient care interaction as well as the science behind all of these medications. And at this point in healthcare, there's a lot of different conditions and a lot of different places that pharmacists can help out our patients. I really like the idea of being a pharmacist and kind of squeezing my way into those patient care experiences and truly having an impact on patients' lives. As a resident, I enjoy most the ability to see many different departments of the hospital. We have 4-week rotations, and so I have a unique opportunity to move around throughout the hospital and see the different patient care settings and different environments in which pharmacists can have a role. I do hope in the future to move into some kind of administrative or management role, but I do understand that at this time, boots on the ground, and I got a lot of learning to do, so I'm enjoying the process.
When we come back, an update on the NSIC participants in the NCAA Golf Regionals and an update from the NSIC Multi-Event Track and Field Championships.
The Northern Sun Experience on Midco Sports Network is presented by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and Dakota Land Honda.
Welcome back to the Northern Sun Experience. Last week we saw Augustana win its 8th consecutive NSIC Women's Golf Championship, along with the Vikings' Callie Troutman winning individual medalist honors. Augustana, of course, got an automatic berth in the NCAA Regional Tournament, but more NSIC teams and individuals were announced for the tournament earlier this week. Minnesota State and Winona State each got their squads into the 12-team field, and 3 individuals from non-Viking, Maverick, and Warrior teams also qualified for the regional. Concordia St. Paul's Savannah Stone, the only non-Augustana golfer to finish in the top 5 of the conference tournament, is in. Southwest Minnesota State's Dana Wagner and Upper Iowa's Megan Yeager are the other NSIC individual participants. The regionals take place May 8th through the 10th at Minnehaha Country Club in Sioux Falls. The men's golf regionals also take place this weekend, May 8th through the 10th at Awari Dunes in Axtell, Nebraska. The NSIC has no additional participants beyond Minnesota State, the team champion at the conference tournament, and Augustana's Parker Klitsky, the NSIC individual medalist. As for the Augustana women's tennis team, the Vikings were the 7th seed in the Central Region Tournament. They traveled south to Durant, Oklahoma to take on the number 2 seed Southeastern Oklahoma State on Monday and fell in a 5-0 sweep. Now, despite the early exit, the Vikings finished the season 16-6 overall and 11-0 in conference play. In fact, Augustana has not lost a conference tennis match since 2009. Well, Mother Nature wreaked havoc on the NSIC Multi-Event Outdoor Track and Field Championships this week. They were supposed to take place in Mankato on Sunday, April 30th and Monday, May 1st, but cold, rainy, and sometimes even snowy weather delayed things until Tuesday, May 2nd and Wednesday, May 3rd. Nevertheless, the show must go on, and we head out to Mankato for the delayed multi-event championships. In the women's heptathlon 200-meter dash, and it's Concordia St. Paul's Callie Burney taking home the top spot in 25.19 seconds. She will be tied for the lead after day 1. In the 100-meter hurdles, close finish, but it's Carolyn Hackle from the home school taking the lead near the end. But the weekend would belong to Augustana's Olivia Montez Brown. The sophomore finishes second in the 800-meter run, but she caps off a spectacular season with a new conference record, 5,140 points, to win the heptathlon. Here's a look at the top 5. Montez Brown, as I mentioned, with 5,140 points, including first-place finishes in the long jump and the high jump. Concordia St. Paul's Callie Burney is second with 5,041 points. MSU Moorhead's Caroline Jansen is third with 5,014 points. Winona State's Olivia Fixon is fourth with 4,695 points. And rounding out the top 5 is the Golden Bears' Wakpor Ahovajah with 4,643 points. Montez Brown completes the sweep with both the indoor and outdoor heptathlon victories. In fact, during her first 2 seasons at Augustana, she's finished first in 3 of her 4 conference heptathlons and second in the other. As for the men's decathlon, it was a Maverick getting out to an early lead. Sophomore Jack Curtis gets the best time in the 100-meter dash at 10.93 seconds. He would take home second place. But just like in the women's heptathlon, another conference record was broken in the men's decathlon by Sioux Falls' Teddy Frid. He sets a new high mark with 6,975 points. It's the first multi-event victory for Frid after finishing 4th last year and second in the indoor conference heptathlon. As I mentioned, Minnesota State's Jack Curtis is second with 6,524 points. Wayne State's Robert Sullivan, who won the indoor heptathlon earlier this season, comes in 3rd place with 6,369 points. UMary's Sven Dunkel is 4th with 6,282 points. And Minnesota State's Calvin Biskins is 5th, compiling 6,238 points. The wins for Montez Brown and Frid give Augustana and Sioux Falls some team points heading into next weekend, when the rest of the NSIC Outdoor Track and Field Championships will take place on May 12th and 13th on the campus of Concordia St. Paul. Once again, a thank you to all of our NSIC member schools for their time, video, and contributions. Tune in next week for an all-new Northern Sun experience.